is everybody doing this wonderful evening?
Great.
So lots and lots and lots and lots and lots to talk about tonight. Very excited. Couple reminders, and we're gonna. Things are really fun right now. Call that. Oscar. Okay. What's up, Marco? So very excited. Some really cool stuff that's going on. It's funny, I had a fun conversation with Access Support today. I was like, so because we had talked last week about the fact that that Access Support's going to reach out to everyone, kind of get the list for next week, and kind of get on top of it and stuff like that. And I went today about 2, and I'm like, okay, so I had on my list, and I've talked to a bunch of you kind of about what's going on. But I'm like, so did y'all realize how fast 2 days go by? Yes. And they're like, holy shit, because that's the fundamentals. One of the reasons we're going to build this is, dude, life gets crazy. There's a million things that are going on, and the more support, the more opportunities, the better, right? To be able to create that stuff. So, you know, tomorrow, the next day, right? We're gonna go through. Here's what I would like for everybody to do. We'll do it to this one. So, if you guys tonight can take 2 minutes to 3 minutes, and you can send an email to OQUINTEROS at access.support, then I can have you forward it. No. Tonight, who, just the name of anyone you have invited for next Wednesday, for July 26th. Right? They'll reach out, they'll get more details, but they'll kind of start that conversation. And if it's nobody, do me a favor, shoot an email and say nobody. Right? And we're just going to start. Look, this is going to be new. There's going to be some of you get all like, I don't want them to know. I don't care. We're going to institute this, right? This is a fundamental part of the culture that we are going to create on a national scale environment. It allows us to build. These are one of those uncomfort creates comfort. Right? We've got to grow. We've got to create the space as to where things are. Some of you are incredibly excited about this. Some of you not so much. I'm okay. You're all going to sleep fine. Everything's going to be okay. But here's what I know. If every Monday, if every Wednesday, if every Saturday, right, if Friday, we've got to go through and we've got to say out loud, I don't have people coming to the opportunity to grow my business, there might be something inside us that says, maybe I change this. So we'll start slowly, we'll develop, we'll figure this out, but I'm telling you, in the next 6 weeks, next 6 months, next 6 years, one of the critical components is the opportunity for a support company to be able to develop the language, to be able to communicate, so we can introduce, we can thank them, all sorts of stuff. So we've got our AAA'z night 1 week from right now. Here's what we don't want. Oh God, that's tonight? Here's what I know. If we don't do this consistently, how many of you have showed up to a meeting that you knew we had because it was a month later, but then it was 3 weeks later or 2 weeks later, and then there was that day, and you're like, oh shit, that's today? Am I the only one that's ever had that? Well, it's really hard to grow when we're not intending to. Does this make sense? So we've got this dialed in, right? Starting next week, this is when we're going to get the August 22nd conversation for the business, for the entrepreneur meeting and stuff like that. We'll start talking about that specifically next week and really driving that through. So very excited about that. One of the things that I want to so things are happening. You ever hear something, you hear like a door and you're like, I think everyone's here. But then you're like, I hear someone, so I know so not everybody's here. So that was funny to me. Like things are happening. This Friday, Wade's rolling out his first 401k. So we're doing that. So we'll talk about that on Saturday. Really excited about that, right? We're looking at the wellness seminars, we're looking at the process and stuff like that. I reached out, we're developing one for the Intercoast colleges. We'll be rolling that out in the month of August. right? There's 7 schools, 5 of them are local. We'll be going through, so we'll be pulling in folks to be able to be a part of that. September 4th or 5th, we've got our first one with a company called Hop Skip Drive, and so we'll be rolling out the financial wellness program for that. Wade is supposed to be meeting with someone today and possibly setting up another one for 3 weeks from now, which is kind of fun. We just got the introduction to the VP of Benefits for Jive, so he and I are starting the conversations on the due diligence on that. So we got the first hurdle done, right? It took a long time. We got the first hurdle done, but now we're in the conversation. So there's a legitimate opportunity for that conversation, which opens the door. The things we talked about are happening, right? Bob and Don picked up, $100,000 of investments yesterday. Congratulations to Bob and Don with that, right? We're going back. They had an appointment today. Can pick up another $25,000. I'm in the middle of confirming that now. We're having the conversation. Where on Saturday they're picking up another $100,000, so it'll be $250,000 of investments in the management accounts. Right? That opportunity is there, right? We're in conversations, right, where they're starting to work with the Hart School District, the new Hart School District, because Primerica's on the 403Bs. We're putting a strategy together to start introducing how we're going to be able to put that together. We're going to run the prototypes when it comes to the schools in terms of that. We'll work together with Sue. She's got a lot of that. We'll work a lot with Arson because he's going into school. Right? There's a lot of pieces that are going through what it is we're talking about. The things we said are happening are happening. One of the things that's really interesting is we're in the middle of the summer, and it's easy in the middle of the summer to things are hot and things are a little slow and we're out and there's all sorts of stuff. It's easy to miss that growth is actually occurring. Don't miss it. Right, I was had a really fun and enjoyable conversations with my friend Oscar and David today, right? And I was talking about recognizing the moment, right? And the opportunity to realize. And we were laughing, and I'm like, because there's certain things that I just don't get. And I forgot a story, and I told them the story, but since I was a little kid, right? Some of you guys know the story, but when I was a little kid, my dad would do this. Right? He'd just do this all the time. He was doing this, he'd go on TV, he'd go on things, just this stuff. And I'm 13 years old, right? And I don't understand. I'm 2 years old, he's doing this. I'm 10 years old, now he's doing this. I don't understand. Doing this. Finally at 13, I'm like, Dad, why are you always doing that? Because I was watching TV one day, and he's like, oh, I want you to always have heard footsteps. Because when you're looking around, I want you to know somebody who has what you want, turn around. I'm like, I've heard footsteps my entire life. And one of them, I don't remember which one, is like, do you think that was a good thing? I'm like, for me it was. Right? I was never the smartest, I was never the fastest, I was never the strongest. But man, I can outwork talent and I can change. I am not going to defend a bad mistake. I am not going to prove that I'm right by being wrong. I'm going to change, I'm going to get better, I'm going to be agile, because there's somebody outworking me right now. There's somebody who wants it as badly as I do. And there's someone smarter than me, there's someone taller than me, there's sure as hell someone prettier than me. But man, if they're resting, right? I've told this story a million times, right? But you guys all remember the turtle and the hare? Slow and steady wins the race, right? That's the moral of the story, right? Slow and steady wins the race. That's the dumbest moral I've ever heard. Slow and steady wins the race. You know what wins the race? Fast and steady. If the rabbit's not an idiot, we're not talking about the turtle. Are we? No. Moral story, the rabbit gets ahead, he's like screwing around. What if the rabbit just ran his ass off? He's at the other end going, I built a house. You're welcome to have a drink, Mr. Turtle, but I already won. But we want to feel good because we're like, well, it's not. You don't got to be the smartest or the fastest. You just never stop. Now, if you happen to be the smartest or the fastest, fantastic. If you happen to find an opportunity to take advantage of something, you ride it into the ground. And if you're up against someone who has a competitive advantage, if you pout, you lose. You got to find a competitive advantage. Art Williams is the best. You guys want to know the single best example in the history of mankind happened to be, in my opinion, in our company. Art Williams literally invented a competitive advantage that changed the industry. It's the greatest example in American business. We have a life insurance company. I want to give you an example of what it means to find a competitive advantage, whether it's real or not. And then you beat into the ground. So I'm going to talk about a made-up, irrelevant, actually bad competitive advantage that ended up changing an industry. So we're in the life insurance industry. You guys all realize that, right? No. So life insurance, here's what happens. So a client pays a premium, and that premium translates to a face amount. Right, Oscar? So the client pays $83 a month based on their height, their age, their weight, all this other stuff. It buys a certain amount. It doesn't buy the same amount. Right? If someone's 50 or someone's 20, the premium's going to buy different coverages. But the face amount is a life insurance liability. So a client, Marco, says, I'm going to give Primerica $50, and if I die, Primerica is going to give my family $300,000. You with me? So the life insurance companies love the premiums because this is where their income comes in. But the face amount is about liability. Does this make sense? So the whole life industry says, the cash value life insurance industry says this. You give us $300 a month in premium, we'll give you $75,000 of life insurance. Does that make sense? So $300 a month, $3,600 a year to the company, asset. $75,000 of life insurance, liability. Does this make sense? From a life insurance industry standpoint, what do you think they care about? The asset or the liability? The asset. Every life insurance company in the industry measures premiums collected. Does this make sense? Why, Wendy, why do they measure premiums collected? Because that tells us how much money they have. That's their revenue. That's what they brag. That's every measure, because that's what business measures. I don't care what job you work at. You work at Google. They measure revenue. Because that's what keeps the doors open. Every business in America, Paul, measures revenue. Nobody would ever measure liability as a strength. Hey, we're incredibly exposed. Give us a trophy. Y'all with me? But Art Williams said, what is our competitive advantage? Our competitive advantage is we market term insurance, which means for $100 a month, a client could actually get $500,000 of insurance, which means a third of the revenue for 8 times the exposure. Does this make sense? A third of the revenue, $300 for $100. 1/3 of the amount of the assets are coming in the door. And those assets are exposing the company 7 times more. If this client dies, they got $3,600 and they had to pay out $75,000. If this client dies, they got $1,200 and they had to pay out $500,000. Does this make sense? But Art Williams went, you know what? This is our edge. Because see, we can't compete on premiums. But they've been in business 100 years and we've been in business 100 days. Look, for every 8 sales we close, every 8 sales they close, all we have to do is close 1. So here's what we're going to start celebrating. We're the life insurance industry, and we are going to become the #1 face amount organization in the country. We're going to have the most liability of any financial services company in the industry. Now, when you say that in business terms, does that sound like a very positive thing? Nah. But he stood in front of a room and says, man, these companies have been around 100 years. Man, we're going to change families' lives. We're going to help more families than any other company in the industry. We're going to protect more families than any other company in the industry. We're going to market. We're going to be Prudential and New York Life combined. Not on the premiums, on the face value. He made up a category. It didn't exist. He started bragging about this, and the rest of the industry was like, do they understand that he's celebrating the liability of the company? And ours like, yeah, because we can kick your ass on a topic that you don't care about, but we do. And if we beat you here, it's only a matter of time before we beat you here. What is your competitive advantage? Do you know it? It doesn't have to make sense to anybody else. Or it can make all the sense in the world. I'm going to have Tony and Wendy come up here for a second. And Tony and Wendy are going to talk about and explain our competitive advantage. Woo! You guys need a good pen. You guys need a good pen. So everyone keeps stealing my pens. I know. That was my work. David has one you can use too.
She didn't do other writing because her writing is amazing. We're going to talk about
Bring it down just a little bit. There you go. That's good.
So yeah. So well, she's gonna draw it. I'm gonna explain it. The financial wellness, or the purpose of the financial wellness platform. And so she'll write. I'll explain.
You know, give a little backstory so they know what you're talking about? Why Wendy's right now?
Yeah. So the past couple of months, Brett and Robin have been talking about going to do these financial wellness plans for corporation organizations. Well, like Brett was talking earlier, that things are now happening. And so we're about to give a scenario of 2 companies that Brett and Robin currently have in place. And so she's giving a.
So hold on. Keep writing. I'm going to help you guys. Keep writing and I'll go through. So this is a skill that we're going to develop, right? So they don't have a clue what you're talking about. I just brought you up as a competitive advantage to be able to explain. So part of what you need to do is take a half a step back and set the table, right? Tell them what they're going to tell them, and then tell them what they told them. So we're going to talk about the financial wellness platform. We're going to talk about that we specialize in, you know, financial services, financial wellness for organizations and for corporations and organizations. But we're going to talk about the purpose, right? We made a big deal about the difference between the benefits and the purpose, right? So one of the things you could do by Wendy's basing this down is you could differentiate between what is a benefit and what is the purpose. because that might confuse people because it confused you.
So yes, we're talking about the purpose of the business. This has nothing to do with the benefits. Something that I've learned in the past couple of weeks, and yesterday itself, that benefits are using this as a training opportunity, using this as a form of income. There's all sorts of things that are benefits, but what's the purpose of this?
Well, hold on, so let's take a second. You're doing good. I'm just gonna interrupt with this. I'm gonna keep drawing, you're fine. Right, because that way you can tell the story. But what else, so you can ask, so what are some of the benefits of the financial wellness stuff that we're doing? Right, and there's two sets of benefits. There's benefits to us in the business, and there's benefits to the people in business, right? So the people who, that's in the business, right? But there's another set of benefits, right? Okay, and so for their people, right? So what are some of the benefits that you can think about when it comes to what we're doing, right? If we go in and we sit with a company, what are some benefits of the financial wellness platform that we're talking about?
We get to bring our part-timers and relationships.
Okay. Any other benefits?
The employer gets to look good to the employees.
The employer gets to look good. Any other benefits?
We get training of our skills.
Any other? One. People can make money? Okay. Any other benefits?
Impact their own money.
Impacts what's good.
Do we do any good news for the people? Right, so, right, the company, the employees actually have access to someone to talk to when it comes to their money. We kind of feel like that's a relatively important thing, right? Anything else? Right, so these are all pretty powerful benefits, right? One of the keys that we're going to talk about is what's the difference between a benefit and the purpose. See, tonight, this conversation isn't something that we're going to talk about. We wouldn't talk about on a Wednesday night. We're not, tonight's Wednesday, but on a normalized night. We're not going to talk about on every Saturday, right? This is the business mindset. This is that we're not going to take for granted the fact that when we go in and we deliver, right, help for somebody, we're making an impact for that. And we can deliver access tools and we give them someone to talk to. And it's an opportunity for us to train our people. And it's an opportunity for us to, there's a lot of benefits to this. But the reality is, there is, from a pure business standpoint, for you to understand why your business is being built on this platform, why we've taken the step back and where this goes, there's a very, very clear purpose behind it. And the difference between the purpose and the benefit will potentially take you a little bit of time to get clear. It might take time for you to be able to articulate it. It might be able to time for you to slide in and slide out to be able to go through. Tonight is not an end all, it's an introduction, right, through this process. I worked directly with Tony and Wendy because they were really, really hell-bent on the benefits, and we struggle with this. I'm like, okay, well, we can develop a strain where here's a particular couple that can learn this, and we can get good at communicating. Okay, so when you start telling stories, right, and all of us are going to have our different moments. We're going to have times to be able to come up and to be able to explain this. This isn't about perfection. It's about learning, right? If you go straight into this without giving that picture, people get confused.
I'll just take it back on that. So yes.
What he said.
What he said. So now that we have a little understanding of what the benefits are, we're going to be focusing on just the business platform, on how it's going to grow our business and throughout the stories in a shift of what America is in. So Brad and Robin we're just using that as an example. Brad and Robin currently have 2 companies that we're going to be doing financial wellness workshop in a certain day. Each company has 50 employees, right? That's a total of 100 people. Well, we want a ratio of, for every 6 employees, 1 person licensed. So we divide 100 divided by 6, 16. Right, so 16 of us need to be licensed to actually go and take this opportunity and service and be able to provide that information to these employees to inside the company. So Wendy and I sat back and were like, okay, how can we help and contribute to this growth? So we said, okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna develop our impact story and share that there's 2 companies that Brett and Robin have worked on that we're gonna go ahead and provide financial wellness and set up 401k. We're gonna go tell that to our market, and they ask us how things have been, or when I sit down with my broker. Now, the impact story, what I'm gonna say is, who can use an extra $1,000 a month? Who can use an extra $5,000 a year? Whatever the number is. But that's my approach. And so we gave a scenario that Priscilla, Daisy, Tom, and Walter, I got 4 people that said, you know what, I'm in. I want to take advantage and make some money. So what they do is, what's the first thing that, before they do anything, what's the first thing they need to go do? That's exactly it. So Wendy loves the check mark. Right? The check mark means they are now licensed. They are now in position to come with us inside this company. So, but before that, at the same time we're talking about our market and we're kind of sharing where things are going, Wendy's dad was like, oh, I thought you guys sold just insurances and that, like Amway, that you're just providing insurances. You're doing what with companies and organizations? Yeah, we're providing strategic planning with these companies. So it's like, when my friend Fernando has a company with 36 employees, can you do that for them? Absolutely. And so now what Wendy and I sat back is like, well, we already have 4 people for Brett and Robin's plan. Why don't we go get another 4 people? That increases our team. Now we have a total of 8 people licensed in our base shop. So, and the same thing, when they get licensed, right? When they come with me to do Fernando's financial wellness workshop, what do they get to go tell the market? The impact story. They get to go share that they've been part of it. So let me ask you something. What if the relationships that each and every person builds, what if they don't sign up and they don't do any business with us? Is it still a benefit? Why? Why is it still a benefit?
Because they're gonna know who they can turn to if they ever decide to, or, I mean, it's a relationship they got.
Exactly, it's the relationships, and you get to tell that same impact story to their market. And they get to share that, they get to share their experience with their market. And so now the process starts growing as our part-timers go tell the impact story of what they've been up to. Now different people start to spike and be like, so I have this company, and it starts growing.
Anything you want us to add, Wendy?
So yeah, it was actually 156 actually. So from the part-timers that we got to go to company 1, we take them, they go to the workshop, right? And then, so they make extra money, they come back happy, and so they go to their market, and it's we cycle all over again. The market will ask them, oh, what you been doing? What have you been up to? And they'll say, well, actually, I'm part of this financial workshop, and I did this. Oh, that's cool. So then they share the story, and then Ashley says, oh, well, I didn't know you did that. My Aunt Sally actually owns a business, and she needs those services. She has 100 employees. Great. So now those 100 employees who we met Aunt Sally, who actually was in Priscilla's market, Tony and Wendy get to meet with Priscilla and Aunt Sally, and they agreed to do everything. So now Priscilla has 100 employees that need to be helped and serviced, but she has an amazing crisis because she has 100 people, but what's her ratio? She has 0 to 100. So now she has to go and again tell her amazing story, which it's not where she's gonna go recruit, but it's more of just like, do you want to make extra money? So she'll find people who want to make an extra income, and the cycle repeats again because those people will go to Aunt Sally's workshop, come back, and tell their story. That's why it's important to have your farm system, right, down right here because you know where you're who's in your market and where they're at.
Awesome job, guys. Good job.
Where did that
Oh, that was
Oh,
What is
So-
the blue? What is
No
what
sale
does it
question
say right
mark.
under the pen?
No,
that's when you're saying.
What have you
they
been
have
up
no sale.
No, right under that, under the arrow.
DID.
What does it say?
It's like it's scratched
yeah,
out.
that's DIB, that's P.
Above the P, what does it say?
It's scratched out.
Oh, okay.
it's-
Oh, yeah, that's
Scratched
scratched
out.
out. Oh,
I thought it said license.
yeah, I didn't know what it said.
so, cool, thank you. Okay, so one of the things, so here's the deal, okay. This is really fun. And we talked on Friday and started this conversation. It's Wednesday. And as I said, this was about you're about 65% of the way there from a clarity standpoint. You're like, wait, I thought it was 100. You're about 65, which is a huge growth from Friday. Here's the thing. See, right now, this seems a little complicated. One of the reasons it possibly seems complicated is that we're explaining a theory. Right? We're explaining, if you want to explain how a light bulb, if anything works, right? If you go in your car, anything, your phone, right? If you take all of the parts away, you guys ever seen that where they have the different things, they have all the different pieces, everything seems really complicated. Running it just seems normal. But part of this, there's multiple things, and so we're going to spend about 10 minutes on everyone understanding this, because we're going to spend a bunch of time on Saturday getting this dialed in. Because this is a conversation you want to have clear, at least in your head. This is not a traditional recruiting appointment, and yet this is a recruiting appointment you are going to have. It's really good when you're sitting around drinking a beer and someone's busting your balls a little bit, and they're like, this thing's really going to work, and you can draw this out. It also allows you to find where your liability holes are, where your belief breakdown is. How big, how fast, how strong can you model it? Where your resistance is. If Art Williams gets caught up on the liability being the liability, he's not marketing this story. That make sense? Right? So here's the reality of what this is, right? So we talk about the fact that there's an amazing crisis. Listen, if the two of the things we're working on happens, we have an amazing crisis. We do not have enough licensed people, let alone licensed skilled people right now to handle the stuff we're working on. That's a fact. That's a little frightening. We have two choices. Play small until we get ready, or lean into it and go find some others that want to come play. Drag some of y'all by the scruff of the neck saying, you know what, you're going to learn this shit, and others going, well, when you decide to, we're here because the opportunities are going to grow. Look, that's the reality of the situation, because things are growing whether you see them or not. What's not growing for me? You're right, it never will. But for everyone else who doesn't get caught up on the fact that the liability isn't a liability, it's an asset, we get to grow. And the only person, look, Art Williams is a genius. You could ask yourself, would you have been able to do that? Would you have been able to do that? And my answer to you is, hell yeah, if Art Williams is in your life. Are you going to be able to do this? There's no, in my opinion, there's no difference between these two things. You going to be able to do it? Hell yeah! Because it's just math. It's just a story. Here's the reality of the situation. And I don't know if you guys caught what Wendy said, and it's really cute. It's a little annoying. It's really cute. Because here's what she said. You don't have to recruit. You just get to talk to them about making money. This was the sentence you said, and you said it multiple times. You don't have to worry about recruiting. You just get to talk to them about making money. Did y'all catch that?
Yeah.
You don't have to recruit. You only have to talk to them about making money. That's a mindset. Here's the reality. Do all of you believe if someone comes work with you, they're going to make an extra $1,000 a month? No, you do not. So you don't look at the people in your lives going, hey, you need to make an extra $1,000. This is the place to do it. Does that affect your ability to recruit? Yeah. Now, what she's saying is they might not want to build a business. They might not see themselves full-time, all this other stuff. But the mindset is still the same way. Because I asked you yesterday, can you think of 5 people that if they could make an extra $1,000 a month, they'd be interested? And your answer was, yeah. Well, isn't that the opportunity we have? So it gives us the ability to tell the story and find where our limitations are, because we all have them. Part 1. But what happens is, when Tony and Wendy start thinking about the opportunity to build this, part of developing your farm system, part of developing, right, the 3 channels, whether it's your friends and family, your coworkers, or your hips, right, your hobbies, interests, and passion people, right, they're going to go through, you're going to tell the story. As you're telling the story of what's going on, you're going to talk to people that had a particular mindset of what Primerica is. I have a question. If somebody in Primerica, Marco, you and I knew each other a long time. If I called you and said, dude, do you know anyone who wants to do this? Would you have thought that they needed to want to do insurance, or they needed to go, like they were struggling with whatever it is they were doing? Because when you and I first start talking, you're like, I'm not doing that. And I don't have any interest in doing that. Your mental picture of what we did is different than what we do, right or wrong. If I would have asked you, who do you know, you would have thought about people who fit the mindset you had and said, who do I know that's willing to sell insurance? Nobody. Who do you know that's interested in building a business? You mean, who do I know that's willing to do Amway for financial services and recruit a bunch of people at the mall? No, everyone I know has a job. Does this make sense? And so what happens is, by understanding this story, understanding what we're doing, you and I have the ability to start articulating what we're doing a little bit differently. And as we tell that story a little bit differently, people get to say things like, wait, I didn't know you did that. The moment someone says, wait, I didn't know you did that, you understand that you're starting to paint a new picture in their head. And if you can tell the story, then, yeah, they just started talking about, this company or that company or some of the different things, right? One of the largest movie companies in the industry. And for those of you guys that want to know whether or not I'm full of shit, and I have held this back until right now. My friend Oscar went with Sue and Paul to do a wellness seminar for a company called Camelot. My friend Oscar has been talking to his sister for the last year about the business. My friend Oscar could never pull the trigger with his sister, never really paint a picture in terms of what was going on with his sister. Is all of this true? You went and did a little bit of this wellness seminar, had this conversation. Did the conversation with your sister start to change after that conversation? Guys, this isn't theory. This isn't theory. What's your sister do?
She's a manager for the medical coding department.
Manager, what department? What is her area of specialty?
She's the manager of the coding.
To the coding department. What happened to that company about 4 months ago with their retirement benefits plan?
They became like they got bought out by another company that does Jesus Christ. What's the other?
Doesn't matter. They got bought out by a bigger company. Did they have a 401k before they were bought out?
Yes.
Do you know that all of those funds are sitting with the old 401k and that they didn't necessarily have to roll all that stuff over?
Yeah.
Did we know, have we had the conversation that as your sister's interest and curiosity starts peaking and as we have an opportunity to lay the foundation of this, there's a potential opportunity for your sister to be able to go in, do a wellness seminar for this company that she's actually working on and actually gather the assets of the funds that are sitting in the old 401k? Huh? Yeah. Did that become more real when you actually talked about the fact that you did a wellness seminar for one of the larger movie companies in the Valley?
No.
We talked about it before, and it didn't make sense. You went and did it, and all of a sudden it's like, wait, so you're actually doing this stuff? This isn't theory. Oscar's like, yeah, I guess it has happened. This is the point. Guys, we start understanding the explanation. We start looking at the people in your lives and start going, wait a second here. If you knew that we had an opportunity where somebody got licensed and we could hand deliver them $1,000 a month, $5,000 a year, part-time, turn into the Uber Primera, say, hey, turn your app on, turn your app off. If you have a Saturday, hey, you want to come on Monday morning? Oh, I can't. Okay, no problem. You want to come on Monday morning? Absolutely. The opportunities are there. But the part to this that Tony and Wendy were developing is for you to understand that this thing continues. Because see, as Tony and Wendy get good at this conversation, because we're starting to do this, and all of a sudden, as Oscar tells the story to his sister, and all of a sudden, let's say that we develop 3, 4, 5 of these companies, and all of a sudden we sit with your sister, and she's like, man, I'm going to get licensed. As she goes to her boss, and her boss says, oh my God, we need this. And there's 82 people at the company sitting down the street that are open to a wellness. Does your sister have enough people? No. So now we get to talk to your sister and say, look, we have a really large problem. And the problem is you have an amazing crisis. Who are Thrive 6 people that have no interest in building a business with us necessarily, but could use an extra $5,000 over the next year if we can hand deliver relationships or anyone that comes to mind. And she's like, yeah, here's 8 people that come to mind. Great, let's go meet with them. But I want you to understand how this works. Those 8 people go with the sister to go do this wellness seminar. And we hand deliver those relationships. And then those people go back to their market because we taught them how to go back to their market. And their market asked Jimmy, how are things going? What are they going to say? We just did a wellness seminar for fill in the blank. And what do those people have the potential to say? Oh my God, I didn't know that that's what you do. Is there a possibility that those 8 people might know somebody like Aunt Sally? When those 8 people talk to Aunt Sally, and Aunt Sally says we have 100 people, did those people join the business because they wanted to become giants and recruit a bunch of people? No, they wanted to make an extra $1,000 a month, an extra $5,000 a year. But when we meet with them and we're like, hey, Ashley, do you have enough people? Ashley's like, no. We're like, Ashley, can you think of 8 people that are pretty smart that could pass the test that could use an extra $5,000 next year? You think Ashley might know some people that want to make an extra $5,000 next year? Is Ashley interested in recruiting a big team and building a business? No. But she all of a sudden has an opportunity to look at her market and go, oh my God, I'm learning entrepreneurial skills. And here's 11 people that need to make an extra $5,000 a year. And your business keeps growing. The purpose behind the financial wealth, the business purpose, the most valuable asset in all of our lives is our people's markets. Because our people's markets can hand deliver and introduce explosions. The financial wellness allows us to increase credibility and provide access to the people that can hear us. Wendy's dad's been a business owner in the community for a long time. You think he knows any business owners? Oh, yeah. You think, how many commercials could we run for Wendy's dad to hear and say, oh God, I need to make sure that she meets Fernando? Millions. We don't have to run a single ad. All we have to do is get Wendy to tell the story about one of the wellness programs we're putting on for her dad and the power of terms what's going on. And her dad goes, man, I had no idea that's what you're doing. And all of a sudden you're like, yeah, the state of California, Jerry Brown, blah, 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 blah. And so now it's not only helping you, it's helping Fernando. Because Fernando doesn't know he's going to be out of compliance. He doesn't know about the law. So now his daughter, not only does he get to help his daughter grow, but he actually lets his daughter help his friend stay compliant. Fight to understand this. Fight to be able to explain it. Don't explain it. Well, explain it to each other. Explain it to yourself. This is not I'm going to meet somebody and I'm going to recruit them into the business. This is not I'm going to explain this to Desi, right? This is not that conversation right now. This is you being able to explain it. Now, there's going to be a handful of times that someone's like, so you really think this thing's going to work? You're going to drop this on a napkin. And I'm telling you You're going to recruit the single most important person at that table. You know what that person is? You. The clearer you get at the expansive opportunity of what an amazing crisis means. Because it's already working. Look, in the next 6 months, we need more people. We have an amazing crisis. We have a meeting next Wednesday night, and most of us aren't thinking about who we're going to plug into this thing. I have a question. How much proof do we need that we have an amazing crisis? How many people do you know that could use an extra $5,000 next year? Because that opportunity has started. Look, I don't know what the next 90 days, I don't know what the next 3 months look like, but here's one of the things that I know. We have a legitimate opportunity to start to run a 401k with a company that got sold for $400 million. We have a legitimate opportunity to run a 401k for a company that's about to go IPO. And we have a legitimate opportunity to run a wellness program with a startup that's fully funded. That is 3 stages of the tech industry, and we're in Southern California. We pull these 3 things off. The credibility, right? We're starting small. We got small little companies that are going on. We got mid-size, we got impact, we got schools, right? The things that we're going to put together in the next 6 to 12 months, we are going to lay platforms for freaking unbelievable things that open the door for credibility and conversation. Are you looking at what you don't have? Are you looking at your liability as a liability? Or are you looking at your competitive advantage? Well, Brett, I don't have any of that going. Great, you're in the room. You're ahead of the curve. Well, I've talked to people and they don't respond to it. Great, you've learned it. You have an opportunity to grow and get better. I've never been the strongest. I've never been the fastest. I've never been the smartest. But I can not quit and I can change and get better. I can get feedback, and if things don't work, I will get better. And what I did yesterday has no indicator of what I did tomorrow. If I learn a new conversation today, the conversation I had yesterday is no longer a predictor. Brett, I've talked to people and they didn't respond that way. Freaking change and go talk to them again. Because here's what I know. You didn't explain it the way I explained it. Well, I'm not you. You don't gotta be me. You gotta be you, but your ass needs to be clear because you can market liability as an asset. We don't have enough people. Brett, what if we sign one of these things and we don't have enough people? I don't know. We're about to friggin' find out. We don't have enough people. Now, the last little thing, then I'll go. When does the alarm go off in your head? When? How big does it need to be? How good does it need to be? How strong does it need to be before the alarm goes off in your head to change, to grow, to get better, to get prepared? How big, how many great things have to happen for your oh shit moment? For your I prayed for this and it's here moment. How big? Because I'll be honest with you. Most of us are not acting as though this is an inevitable reality that's happening really fast. We are not getting prepared for the title shot. We are not behaving as though this is actually occurring. But it's actually that. And there's actually 4 to 6, and we don't know what we're doing yet. We're gonna have I'm so fired up for August 22nd because Sue's client Billy's going to be here and talking, and there's going to be 6 or 8 people she's going to have in the room from the community. Well, there's going to be people in the community that are going to hear Billy talk, and all of a sudden, the amount of credibility he's potentially going to lend to this, and we have no idea what's going to, but the hard shit's already done. We already have a community leader that's already seen the value in it, that gets to talk about it, and we don't have to. Billy's going to get 3 minutes to talk about the power of it. Y'all understand? We don't have to do that. We're going to do it again in November or December, and hopefully we have 3 or 4 that are good. We're going to have 20 minutes of speakers by this time next year that are just people from the communities talking about how great you are. All you have to do is get the people in the room and get them out of the way. When do the sirens go off? How big does it need to be? How real does it need to get? How many examples do you need before you're like, because we told you all of this was going to happen. Well, guess what? If we told you all this stuff was going to happen and it's happened, and we told you you were going to have a language where you can get into a conversation and change the way someone thinks about it, you could come from strength in all things, that you could have a conversation and not feel weird, that you could recruit amazing people, that you could get licensed training, you could build all the things we've done so far. Everything we said we do, we've done. When this happens, when Aunt Sally occurs, Tony, when Aunt Sally occurs, if Priscilla doesn't have the people, are you going to? Or are we going to have to give the people to David? Because if Priscilla doesn't have the people, but you do, you get to support Priscilla until she has the people. How big does it need to be before the alarm bells go off in your own head? Our moment is now. Our time is now. The next 6 months will revolutionize this room. Do you have your farm system in place? Are you working on your numbers? Do you have a list of folks? Are you getting good at the story? Do you have the 10 people you're going to go tell the kitchen table to so you can practice and get better? You can get the feedback. Are you running F&A's? Are you getting stronger and better? Are you getting up in the morning and running it? Are you going to bed at night? Are you thinking about it? Are you practicing? Are you waiting? Or are you going, I didn't know what to say? Sorry, it wasn't what to say. It was I didn't know what video to watch. Couldn't find the video. You're going to pass your test and you're going to be prepared. We're going to take advantage of this stuff. We're going to do. I want you to think about your farm system. I want you to think about, are there 3 8 people on this room, on that list, that could use an extra $5,000 next year? If there are, what in God's name are you waiting for? We don't have time to wait. Because you all know it takes a little bit of time to pass these tests. If we wait until we need them to get them, we won't have them when we need them. Now you might go, well, Sears, I don't know. I'm going to wait for everyone else to get it because I don't know if you're going to pull this off. You got all the rights in the world. You got all the rights in the world. But I got a 23-year track record that my ass finishes what I started. I do not say I'm going to do something. Jimmy, you've known me a long time. I have no problem saying I won't say I'm going to do this. So you've known me a long time. The one thing that I do is I have no problem being honest with what I'm not going to do. Because when I say I'm going to do something, it absolutely gets done. Because I won't stop. I don't know if it'll happen at the time I said it's going to happen. But I'm too stupid to quit. Because I've been hearing footsteps my entire life. This is going to happen. And it's going to happen soon. And we desperately want you to be a fundamental part of it. All of our lives are better and more fun if we grow together. I'm begging you, hear the alarms that are going off in my head. If you can look at your farm system and say there are 3 or 5 people that can use an extra $1,000, an extra $5,000 next year, let's meet them. Let's tell the story. Let's let them understand what it is we're talking about and where we're going. Are they going to make $1 million next year? No, maybe. I don't know. I have no idea. Cindy just got a job for a company that's got 3,600 employees and they love wellness. I can potentially change their life. Carson going back to a school where he's going to have direct access to the entire school and the influences that could fundamentally change their life. We have no idea. But man, aren't you both glad you're here? Could you imagine having opportunities and not being here? Let's get the alarm bells. Let's get it going because we got to let them know it's all about access.